Hola, amiga. Welcome to the Latina Leadership Podcast, a podcast by Latinas for all women. Get ready because today's conversation is really special.
Hola, and welcome to today's Latina Leadership Podcast. Today, I am so hyped. I am so excited about the interview I have today. Janet, thank you. Thank you so much for taking this interview. It's so close to your conference. As we all know, it's a national conference that everybody needs to be at. But I let every interviewee, although I have all your fact sheet, I think at this point, I know your parents' name. At this point, I do want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us who are you and what you do. I'm sure all of us know this, but please.
Angelica, it's such a pleasure to join you today for this wonderful, incredible, and amazing podcast. Thank you for the kind invitation. And yes, my name is Janet Murguía. I'm president and CEO of UnidosUS. We are the largest Latino civil rights and advocacy organization in the United States. And our mission is very simple but very powerful. We are here to create opportunities for everyone, but especially and including the Latino community. And we have been doing this for 57 years. And one of the reasons that we have been a high impact organization and not just supporting the Latino community across the country, but in championing issues that impact our communities across the country is because we've had a clear focus on solutions, on protecting our community, defending our community, and actually advancing our community. So at the core of our mission has been an economic empowerment focus, a leadership focus, but really helping support communities where they are. And what we've been able to leverage in the course of our work is a network of over 300 community-based organizations across the country that support our community and others in areas like access to healthcare, to education, to housing, to economic supports, and also to civic engagement and voting registration, but also the importance of civil rights being protected for our community. So those have been key focus areas for us. And right now, our strategy is really to help create systems change that will really break open opportunities and break down barriers. And at the core of that, we are focused on building wealth, fostering health, and really helping to grow our power. And I believe right now are in a moment where we're going to need to leverage every bit of our experience and our power to push forward an agenda that can help actually protect and defend our community and advance our community.
Janet, I've heard you speak several times, and I always hear the passion behind what you do and the reason you stayed with Unidos for quite some time. What I want to do really quickly, because this year Unidos is going to be in Kansas City, and that's no small place to you. Why Kansas City this time?
Well, Angelica, I decided and worked with our board and our affiliates, but this is my 20th anniversary as the helm of this amazing organization. And I felt like it would be good for me to bring the conference to my hometown and to really put a spotlight here in the Midwest and bring people together in the center of this country to sort of regroup and reset, because the fact is that we're facing some really extraordinary challenges in this moment, and we want to bring people together to regroup and re-energize so that they can draw strength from each other, and that where we can create a path forward. The theme for our conference this year is beacons of change. And we were very intentional about that because we knew we would be facing big challenges, maybe not as big as what we're actually facing today, but these are extraordinary challenges. And we all have to play a part in shining our own light on the way forward. And we're hoping that this gathering here of our UnidosUS members, affiliates, partners, and stakeholders will be able to focus on some of the important issues that our community is facing right now, but also help to create some of the solutions, steps we're going to need to take together to really push back on these challenges, but also to create some path forward.
Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd see something that's happening today in my lifetime. There's too much. There's too many distractions, happening all at once. But, it takes a really good leader to know when to pay attention and to what is actually being done and said. So let's talk a little bit about your leadership. What is it that sustains you in terms of when people call you a leader? It's a big word, and you think to yourself, at least I think to myself, am I? When you take on that role, how do you know what to pay attention to and when it's really time to speak up?
Yeah, it's a good question, Angelica, because I think all of us, especially Latinas in this moment, need to be encouraged to speak up. And I think a lot of times, a lot of young Latinas who've been out there in their careers or doing the work they've been doing, still, despite years or real knowledge, still feel like they're not ready to lead. And we need to make sure we're conveying, and we need to find within ourselves the confidence in ourselves to understand that we are more than ready to lead in many different ways, because we are, as Latinas, I think, unique in so many ways. Latinas, are rising across every field right now. And when we lead differently. We lead with heart, culture, and ultimately with our community and families.
Correct.
Right in the center of our leadership. And so we are grounded in values that drive us. And that sets us apart, believe it or not, often differently from other leaders. And we're very solution oriented. So for me, I feel like we just have to remind ourselves that we have so much, even though sometimes we may not think we're ready, we are more than ready with the grounding that we have, with the values that we have, and with the intentions to solve problems and bring people together. So I just encourage our young Latinas, encourage other Latinas to speak out, to be in solidarity, and to focus on these solutions, because we have so much of what are the key elements of leadership organically already within who we are.
There's many, many defining moments to which we really do have our moments that say, hey, yes, was our time. This was our time for me to speak up. This was the moment that I needed to say what I needed to say when I needed to say it. But I want to talk about some very quick defining moments in your leadership, defining moments and milestones that for the 10 years that you've been there. Am I right when I say 20. 10 years? 20. 20 years that you have been at UnidosUS. What are some defining moments that you would say, yeah, this was a turning point? This was it.
Well, for me, I focus a lot on progress and accomplishments. And for me, I really believe we have to be very results oriented. A lot of times these results don't happen overnight. The change we seek doesn't happen overnight. It's really important for us to stay sustained in our engagement, because change comes eventually when we keep championing, when we keep advocating, and when we can be persistent. But I'm very proud of many of the accomplishments we've achieved in my tenure at UnidosUS. I was very excited, for instance, when we helped 4 million Hispanics get health insurance for the first time through the passage of the Affordable Care Act. We advocated at UnidosUS for our community and in partnership with others. And we also had, as a major success point, the opportunity to see 10 million Latino children get health care through our work on the Children Health Insurance Program. That was a key milestone. But one thing in particular, our focus on growing wealth and economic power for the community, Angelica, has been so laser focused that I think it's been really important accomplishment that after 15 years, this year, our UnidosUS homeownership counseling program, which is the largest Latino homeownership counseling program in the country. This last month, we put our 50,000th Latino family into their first time home. And that is transformational, because that's about true wealth building that allows us to build wealth in our families and in our communities. Home ownership is such a key opportunity to build wealth. And we've saved many of our families from foreclosure, thousands. And so those are a couple of milestones. When you can actually know you're impacting the lives of our families in such a transformational way by leading these types of programs and policy changes, there is something about seeing that kind of impact that is very reaffirming and rewarding. Understanding there's more to be done as we look at economic empowerment, but even for us, our advocacy around the child tax credit law, the earned income tax credit, these are all outcomes, these laws that we advocated for, along with our network, are changing and helping our communities to not just survive, but to thrive, because it's putting money back into the pockets of our families to allow them to have choices that they can make about the direction of their lives. But, we were at the forefront of advocating for dreamers and for helping to ultimately enact the DACA program, which allowed 750,000 of our young dreamers actually have temporary legal status and work permits. That was a big milestone moment for the organization. I mean, one other key milestone that I'm very proud of that we've accomplished in the last 20 years, and really this was over the last 10 to 12 years, but we at UnidosUS and with our affiliates have registered over 1 million new Latino voters. And so when you have these types of accomplishments, again, over the course of, a few years, because this change doesn't happen overnight, but these are all important milestones that reflect real impact in terms of the positive change in the lives of our families and communities. So I'm very proud of that work that we have led together.
Janet, I myself as a young Latina watching a lot, I knew about Unidos, but I didn't know about Unidos the way I know about Unidos for the last maybe 7 years. Its growth has been so substantial to what the community has needed and continue to need. But, when we talk about, right, the efforts that we all need to make now, the efforts that need to take place now, talk to us a little bit about what is actually happening to a lot of these nonprofits that are affiliates to you. Talk to us a little bit about what their journey is looking like, how hard is it really and truly to navigate it at this stage?
Yeah, thank you, Angelica. It's a really important point as we face many challenges in this moment. Not only our families and communities, but these community-based organizations that have been set up to provide supports, oftentimes in helping support families in their access to early childhood education or education programs, after-school programs, or maybe it's digital literacy, maybe it's financial literacy and this homeownership counseling programs. Maybe they're a federally qualified health clinic providing basic health services. All of them are providing really important supports. And right now, because of budget cuts that have been led by this Trump administration, supported by the Republican Congress, we are seeing major cutbacks to funding for these programs. And in fact, many of these nonprofits, their own budgets are being challenged. And so they are at risk. And these are the safety net organizations that really help keep families able to meet their basic needs every day, help support them in different ways so that they can keep working and contributing and adding the strength to our economy. And these nonprofits themselves, by the work that they're doing, one of the programs that we created 25 years ago, and today is the largest Latino community development financial institution in the country, the Raza Development Fund, it is now leveraging investments back into communities in billions of dollars so that these communities can create schools or build health centers or housing. And so right now, a lot of that work is at risk. These nonprofits themselves at the local level are finding with these budget cuts that we're seeing will reduce and like $800 billion in reductions to programs like Medicaid, which is, again, a health safety net for many of our community and others. That's going to create real burdens at local community levels. And it could be overwhelming, not only for our families, but for these nonprofits. So we're very concerned about the impact of these cuts. And we really want to go out and make sure that we're using our voice of advocacy as nonprofits to remind and educate and inform our community what's at stake when we see these actions taken by Congress, and what's at stake when we see executive orders issued by this administration, and to remind our community that we are not helpless in this moment. We do have our voice, and we have the power ultimately of our vote to hold everyone accountable based on their actions. And if their actions right now are not helping our communities and really undermining the country's ability to actually have a strengthened economy, well, then we can use our advocacy in this way to help our community hold Congress accountable and hold this administration accountable.
Hola, amigas. So quick before we keep going, I'm literally sitting right outside the Georgia Brown Convention Center where the 2025 Latina Entrepreneurship Conference is happening right here on September 20th. So yes, mark that down. This is built by Latinas, made for all women, and it's going to be full of heart, ambition, and real talk. You can expect powerful panels that inspire, hands-on workshops that empower, and unforgettable charla sessions where you can truly connect, share your journey, and grow alongside other mujeres who understand what it means to chase big dreams. So grab your comadres, get your tickets, and come to a space that's made for you. Now let's keep going with that episode.
You know, I'm one of those Latinas that happen to be taking care of my son who's in college, and now I am very much involved in what the care might look like for my aging mom, right? And so my aging mother has always been a quite huge concern for me. And so when I hear about these cuts happening and the cuts that are going to continue to happen, I was talking to a friend, and I feel like it's going to be decades before we can revert back to anything that's actually going to work. Because although it wasn't the greatest, but there was still progress moving forward. There were still things that we were implementing, and now we live in such a dystopian world where nothing makes sense. So to make sense of it, to really make sense of it, to rally and bring community together, please, Janet, tell us how important UnidosUS this year is important.
This year, leading up to next year, and we've got to stay focused, I think, on a couple of approaches, and that is protecting and defending our community and making sure we're working in coalition with others. Angelica, I don't have to tell you right now, a big area of focus beyond the major cuts that were in the bill that Congress passed and that the president supported, huge cuts in programs, education, health, relate housing programs. We need to make sure members of Congress, through our advocacy efforts, are educated and informed about what will benefit their own constituents and what will undermine our ability and set us back. That is an important role that we all have to own. And we can use our voice and our advocacy, contact your member of Congress, write them, tell them what is wrong about this bill, what they can do to fix it. Folks can go to our website and be informed on any number of these core issues that we've been talking about that relate to economic status of our community, but that's shows up through health, education, our ability to have access to housing, but workforce, skills, and education. All of this, we can use our voice to really remind members of Congress through our advocacy what's working and what's not working. And so for us, these cuts are going to have a dramatic impact. But one area in particular, and this is something that we're seeing immediately now as a threat to our community in particular, and that was the major expansion of billions of dollars to the Department of Homeland Security and ICE enforcement, immigration enforcement efforts right now. They have been expanded tenfold in their budget. They have $170 billion now that will go for enforcement actions. President Trump said when he was running for president this last time around that he wanted to tackle immigration, but that he was going to go after the murderers, the drug dealers, and the folks who would do us the gravest of harms. And what we're seeing today is this expanded budget that is actually targeting workers, people who are part of mixed status families. They have U.S. citizen children and spouses, and they are really just trying to contribute to their local economy and provide for their families. These are dishwashers. They're folks working in restaurants, folks working in retail. They're helping stock our food shelves. They're providing, they're farm workers providing food for our tables. And these are the folks who are being targeted with extreme enforcement actions, so much so that we're now seeing a lot in our community, and it's starting in LA, but it's now happening everywhere, where the way they're doing these enforcement actions is actually now violating our Constitution. It's federal abuse of power and overreach. And a lot of our families are being impacted as they're going to church, as they're trying to show up for dropping their kids off at school, as they're showing up to work or court appointments. And we're seeing racial profiling because a lot of times these enforcement actions are happening without warrants. The folks and the men who are picking up these people are not identifying themselves. They're dressed in street clothes. They're masked. And so we're extremely concerned right now that many in our community will be vulnerable. And it's not just immigrants, it's U.S. citizens that are getting caught up in this. And so the budget that was passed by Congress has expanded the ability for these enforcement actions. And those of us who can, must raise our voice and reject these kinds of actions and really help to document in a safe way when we see this happening, so that these stories of this abuse of power can be heard by everyone and rejected outright by everyone. This is not just a threat to us as Latinos or as immigrants. This is really a threat to everyone. And we're going to be very focused at UnidosUS right now on calling out and trying to make sure that we're being advocates for our community and documenting more of these stories, sharing them so that others can be alarmed about the way that our government is overreaching in its power. And we're going to call out these cuts in programs that are going to undermine the lives of our community and make it harder for us to contribute to these economies at the local level and national level.
You know, Janet, I have to be honest. I'm scared. I'm scared of everything that's happening. I directly have family who's being affected. You know, they're just kind of like picking up their whatever little morralitos they have just to go back, because they're so afraid they're going to end up in a space or somewhere that it's not going to be their hometown, or it's not going to be their place of country, because that's not what they're doing. They're holding people in places for months, you know, not even
without access to counsel, without access to their affairs. People are having a hard time tracking them down. That's not the America you and I have believed in or
Janet, that's not dignity. They're not given a human right of dignity. We're not giving them dignity. And this is what scares me the most when I'm watching planes full of people in handcuffs who, you know, just yesterday were working at, you know, cooking at a hotel, cooking their food, or small children in zip ties. This is not okay.
It's not okay. It's not okay, and it should not be acceptable. But it is the turn that we're seeing this government make, and that the fact that they are targeting, honestly, Latinos, we're seeing that in the racial profiling that's happening right now, should be rejected, though, by everyone, because it becomes a threat to everyone when we see these tactics of abuse of power and overreach being used right now. We have to use the courts, and we are working to file litigation with other coalition partners to challenge this overreach in the courts. We have to continue to remind Congress of their accountability and their role to put guardrails on these actions and on the funding that we're seeing here. We can use our voice as advocates right now, and we're all going to have to, despite, Angelica, you know, everyone feeling a little bit more afraid, because that's their intention. They want to intimidate and create fear so that no one will speak up and so that no one will try to help in defend these individuals and families who are being targeted. But we have to find a way, and we are creating with our coalition partners tools that can be used by our community and really guidance. Know your rights. Know how to protest, but don't be provoked into violence, because that only justifies the administration into creating more of a military presence in these communities. But learn how to document without putting yourself in jeopardy with maybe videotaping or videoing some of the actions so that others can see this abuse of power. So we'll be part of a coalition that's going to be issuing these types of toolkits and information for our community to know what they can do. But their whole intention is to try to get as many of our community to leave, even though we've not been, our folks who have been targeted do not have the criminal records that President Trump talked about. This is about something more deeper happening here. And really, I think there's a concern around the demographic change and the numbers that many people of color represent, and an effort to try to somehow push back on that. Now, they're not going to be successful ultimately, but in the meantime, they're causing real pain. But we, as a community, I know they're creating circumstances for fear, but as a community and as individuals, we're all going to have to be a little bit more brave and courageous in thinking of the ways that we can help to protect and defend our community and to try to find ways still to advance what we know are solutions that are consistent with our values as Americans.
So I'm taking that firsthand, brave and courageous. That's what I'm going to try to do. You know, Janet, you're in a very unique place where you get to hear the people on the ground. You actually get to hear the constituents of the people who are the policymakers. You're in that medium where you hear the policymakers and then you hear the people on the ground. For you, what does that sound like? And what does it sound like? How is it shaping up? What is your consensus? What are your thoughts?
Well, I do think that for us as not just as a community, but as participants in this society and as citizens, we have to recognize that we have power, but we have to leverage that power in ways that can help create collective actions to move and change policies and to push back on tactics that are inconsistent with the Constitution and with our American values. So right now, I do see the chance for us to come together and to understand that in order to push back on these abuses of power and on these cuts that are going to undermine so many in our community, this is a galvanizing moment for us. And every one person can do something. We can do something. We can be a beacon of change and shine the light forward for others. We can do things as individuals, but we also can be part of a collective. So maybe it's joining UnidosUS and the efforts that we have underway to protect and defend the community, know your rights, know how to protest, know how to document, share our stories so that folks can see what's happening. And we have and will be creating an economic prosperity agenda where we can see our future included in this country, because we can't just be against things and we can't just call out what's wrong. At UnidosUS, we feel a responsibility to say, this is what we must be for. And we are going to support an economic prosperity agenda where people squarely see our community as full contributors, but where everyone can have a future of realizing their potential and understanding that they can have a way of life for their families that isn't under constant struggle, not being able to meet the day-to-day challenges for their families. They ought to have a shot at economic prosperity. And so we're putting together an economic agenda. And we have to reject the chaos that this administration and the Congress are unleashing with these cuts and with the expanded dollars being put, the billions of dollars in just enforcement. Let's come up with a solution for immigration that allows us to leverage the need for more workers, not less. We can put those agendas together. And so that's what we at UnidosUS are doing. We're out in communities, we're doing listening sessions, and we are hearing what it is that our community prioritizes when it comes to economic advancement. And so we're going to be promoting an economic prosperity agenda that our community can support, that others can support. And we need to call out where we need to reduce funding that's going to harm not just our communities because they're focused on immigration, but because the overall impact is to set us back economically. We need these workers to continue to contribute to the economy. And we're undermining our own economic strength as a country when we pursue these extreme mass deportation tactics.
I'm eager to see this economic progress plan in place. I'm eager to see what it is, what approach will be taken, and what can possibly potentially be done. Because I think I keep saying this to people, it's time. This is it. We're out of time. We have no more time. It's time. This is it. It's either, my team hates it when I say it, it's all or nothing. I'm in. We need to make a change because there is no other way but change. So I absolutely love the beacon of change that you have moving forward with UnidosUS.
And we're in an existential moment for many in our community right now, and we need to act a little differently. And again, with a little bit more courage, we need to get a little bit out of our comfort zones and use our voices to create more allies and to really promote this civic engagement, this effort to hold the courts accountable, or to use the courts to seek accountability, and to use Congress to seek accountability. Because this administration, I think, needs to understand that there are three branches of government, and they all should be kind of providing checks and balances on one or the other. And right now, we're getting further and further away from this.
Yes, we are. Janet, do you remember there was a time back in the day when people were saying we're the sleeping giants? Do you remember that? And I thought to myself the other day, you know what? You didn't wake up the sleeping giants. You woke up the sleeping giants, brothers and sisters. And here we come, because this is not okay. None of this was ever okay from the beginning. Was it never going to stand? And it will not stand because the people, the youth that are our future, will not stand. And we have to be that change, that beacon of change and power, to say, hey, look, this is the way. Follow. Because we can't be treated like this. Not today, not tomorrow, not in the future.
It is unacceptable. It will be unacceptable. You're right. Our young people are ways that our young people reflect, I think, an opportunity for us to draw strength from. They're very much concerned about what they see happening. And I think they can be strong advocates for their parents. Already we're seeing them step up in so many ways. But also, Angelica, it's this notion that no one can do this alone. And that's true for an individual, and it's actually true for us as a community. We will stand up for ourselves, we will defend ourselves, and we will promote opportunities to move forward. But it's also a time for partners and allies. And I'm very proud of the work that we have done at UnidosUS in growing the coalition of folks who have common agendas and who have common goals. And so we partnered with the African American community, with the Asian community, with the LGBT community, with other communities on those common goals. And right now, they are seeing that what's happening in the targeting and the racial profiling of our Latino community is unjust. It's an abuse of power. And the more that we are joining forces together, the more strength we'll have in pushing back on this overreach. And so there is strength in unity. I've said that in unity, there is strength, and in strength, there is power. And we need to leverage every bit of that in this moment and recognize that we cannot give up. We will not surrender. We're not going to kowtow to the bullies out there. And we are going to find a way to move forward because that's in our nature as a community. And we're going to bring and invite other allies to join us. And because of that, I know that we will get to the other side. I'm certain we will, but we all have to be conscious right now to be a beacon of change, to draw on some courage and be brave for our community members who are most vulnerable.
Okay. This is such a powerful conversation that I can have on forever. Ask anybody who knows me well that I can, because I can strengthen my efforts to want to do more as I continue to have these conversations. But if we do want to continue to have these conversations, Janet, when is UnidosUS conference taking place, and can we still sign up?
Well, sure. I'm pretty sure we would be able to accommodate a few more folks. We are close to our limit.
I know.
But folks should try and look at our website. The conference is August 5th, 6th, and 7th in Kansas City. You still have time to get to Kansas City, and we welcome all comers. Hopefully you can still get a registration, but it's going to be a very important time to regroup and re-energize, to draw strength and courage from one another, and then to go out back to our communities and realize that we're not alone, that we are in solidarity with so many others who share our values, and that we can create a path forward. We can protect and defend our community, but we will have strategies that we'll be talking about that will also help to advance our community. But we need each other in this moment. It's a time where there's so many challenges that a lot of times people retreat and they want to be isolated. But, this is a moment to really step out, and everyone who's attending our conference will be demonstrating some of that courage, because it's easy to stay at home. It's easy to say, I'll just figure out my own way. We need to be together in coalition and in a unified and collective movement to push back and to find a path forward.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Janet, before I ask you the last question, what words of encouragement can you give to young Latinas, to young Janets out there in the world who want to make a big change just like you?
Well, I would just say, keep at it. Don't give up. It's easy, I know, to feel discouraged, to feel overwhelmed. Find a friend, another family member, an ally, a mentor. Don't give up until you find someone. Look at organizations like UnidosUS. Look at what we're doing. Find a local affiliate that's doing something that is consistent with what you believe in, or you want to see people helping others. But don't give up hope. We can never give up hope, because we will get to the other side. So keep at it. And I know if you need to take a break, and wellness is important for all of us, get that break in, but please get back into the fight, get back into a circle of folks who can be encouraging, and look for opportunities at what these national organizations and local organizations are doing to help, and join.
Beautifully said. Janet, bueno, Entonces, is there something that you would like to tell the audience that I did not ask?
Well, just that I'll say this, Angelica, you know, as a Latina leader, I've been really proud to help open the door for other Latinas and finding leadership roles. And I was proud of the role that UnidosUS played in helping to place so many Latinas into roles within the government and different agencies, at the White House, in cabinet roles. One of the biggest outcomes that we were able to be a part of in breaking down these barriers, but for the first time in the history of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, an important entity that sets banking policy for the whole country. We've never had a Latina or Hispanic on that board of governors. And UnidosUS helped to lead the fight to get Adriana Kugler, a Latina, on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and to see her take her place there. It took 109 years. Unacceptable, but we never gave up. And we finally got that representation. We have to keep at this. We cannot give up. We will break down these barriers. Biggest moment of pride in almost my whole career was to see Sonia Sotomayor and to help advocate for her as we saw her nominated and confirmed to be on the Supreme Court of the United States. I've dedicated a lot of my time to trying to help mentor Latinas and to help create other opportunities of leadership for Latinas across this country. And because of the values and the skill sets that we as Latinas can bring, what I was talking about, you know, bringing a sense of wanting to find solutions and using our heart and our heads when we're trying to solve problems, but bringing a community mindset, I know how important that is. And it is a gift we bring to the rest of this country. I am confident that many will see that the future is Latina in this country. It will add an enormous asset as we see the opportunity for Latinas, but also in breaking down these barriers. So we're going to keep at this. And I think folks need to understand that we're going to see a period of unique challenge, but many of us, especially Latinas, can step up in this moment and help to create that path forward and be that beacon of change.
Janet, well said. Janet, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to talk to me today. Muchísimas gracias. And those who want more information on Unidos, you can reach them at unidosus.org. Janet, thank you so much.
Thank you. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for joining us in this amazing conversation today. If you need more information or resources, as always, they'll be in the description below. Please don't forget to follow us everywhere at Latina Leadership Podcast to stay updated with our latest releases, events, and more. We'll see you next time.